Hello and welcome to Nick's Allotment Diary. Inspired by so many people that are trying microgreens, I thought I'd give them a try. I prepared a couple of trays with some compost in. Basically they're just quite cheap plastic trays with holes in the bottom. And I put some sieved compost into each of these two trays and have just given them a little bit of water, not completely soaking them, just to make sure that the compost is nice and damp. So what I've done is I've put them in a gravel tray which doesn't have any holes in. So what I can do is water from underneath. The variety I'm going to use are these seeds that are specifically for microgreens. This one is Rocket. It says they'll be ready in 16 to 21 days. They come in this inner packet to keep them fresh. And what I'll do now is show you me sowing them. So here are the rocket seed. I'll just start with a few. So what I'm going to do is just spread them over the surface of the compost. Not particularly thickly. Quite a few seed. Try and spread them as evenly as I can. There we go. And I'll just now give them another bit of water just to soak them into the surface of the compost. And what I plan to do now is use this tray on top of the seed tray. Just push it down, and I'm going to use something to weight this down for a few days before I then take off the top layer and let the microgreens to the light. So I'll just put something to weight this down a bit. My understanding is that the reason you put something to weigh this down is you're giving the seeds what's known as a blackout period. So it's sort of like the seeds are under the soil and they've got a bit of weight on top of them pushing them down. It encourages them to root more deeply into the compost, and because you're not placing a layer of compost over the top of the seeds, when they emerge they're not going to sort of have soil all over the greens, because you basically want to eat those microgreens when they're small. You don't really want bits of soil all over them. That is my understanding as to why you don't need to cover them with soil, but you need to put something on top of them to weight them down. When I get them home, I will actually put a couple of canned tomatoes or soup or something on top to give it a little bit of extra weight, and then I shall leave them covered for a few days, maybe 4 or 5 days, before I take the top tray off. Just need to keep an eye and make sure that they stay moist, the seeds, so every day it's probably worthwhile just taking the top tray off, giving them a little bit of a spray, and then putting the top tray back on again. Once the seeds have rooted into the tray, the roots will start emerging through the holes at the bottom of the tray, so that's when you need to make sure that you keep them bottom watered from then on. The second mix I'm going to try is this one called Micro Mix. So basically it's a brassica mix. It's supposed to be a mild one. These are specifically a microgreen type seed. It says there's about 5 grams in this packet. You can see a typical brassica type seed. Again, I'm just going to spread them quite thickly, much more thickly than you would do if you were just growing these not as microgreens, across the surface. And again, give them a good water in just to settle them into the top layer of the compost, and another tray. Push them down and add something to weight those down too. I've labelled the front of the trays to remind me what's in what, and I will bring you an update on these once they've started to germinate. I'm definitely not an expert on microgreens, so what I suggest you do is check out a few of the other gardening channels who have successfully grown microgreens. Examples including A Little Dirt Never Hurt, William Coleman and Kelly's Kitchen Garden, amongst loads of others that have successfully grown some microgreens. I'll include links to their channels in the description below this video. This is 5 days after the seeds were originally planted. I've removed the tray from above the seeds now. You can see that they've started to sprout, and they were yellow when I removed them last night, and they're already starting to turn green. So I'm going to leave them on a bright windowsill here and turn them round regularly, and then we'll see how they do. In addition to the trays of seeds that I set going at the allotment, I've also set some peas going. So I soaked these peas for a few hours in water, then put the peas on the surface of the compost, push them in a little bit, and then put a tray on the top. As you can see now, they've started to emerge. It's now 9 days since these seeds were planted, and that's the rocket, and that's the mixed greens. That one hasn't germinated quite as well as this one, and these are the peas. So they're doing pretty well. A few more days yet before I can harvest them. Update on the microgreens. We're now at 14 days from when the seeds were planted, and the rocket has done really well. Quite pleased with that. Probably be able to harvest that anytime soon, maybe in the next few days. And the other one that I planted 2 weeks ago was this micro mix. It's a mix of brassicas, I think. Not as good germination as the rocket, but pretty good. I think I need to put more seeds in next time, just to get a better coverage of the tray. And I'm really pleased with the pea shoots. Again, these were planted on the same day 14 days ago, and they're really just about ready for harvest now. Just starting to produce those little tendrils. So again, a few more days and I'll be able to harvest some tasty pea shoots. We are now at 21 days since the seeds were planted, and these are the microgreens. I'm going to start harvesting those from today. And here are the peas. They've grown really well and should make a great addition to a salad. Why don't you give it a go and try growing some microgreens?
Thanks very much for joining me at Nick's Allotment. I'll see you again next time.